Hi everybody, welcome to this session. I'd like to say welcome from a rather cold, wintry, lockdown UK. I hope this finds you all very well and enjoying the conference. I really hope you find this session useful. I hope your donors appreciate you tuning in for this session as well, which will perhaps make a little bit more sense in a little while. In this session, I'm going to talk about donor loyalty. I'm going to talk about why it's important. I'm going to talk about what it is. And especially, I'm going to talk about how you have the opportunity to use every single communication to grow donor loyalty, to make your donors feel really special, to feel valued, loyal to you, and make them really enjoy the experience of giving to you so that they support you long term. My name is Roger Lawson. I've been a fundraiser for nearly 30 years, always really trying to strive to understand why supporters give and how we can then use that to really make the experience of giving stand out and special for the donors. Along with Richard Spencer, we are about loyalty, and growing loyalty, growing donor loyalty is absolutely the core of what we do with our charity clients. Why do we do this? Because if you grow their loyalty, you will keep more supporters, they'll keep giving to you for longer, and you'll raise more money. We work with a number of charities across the UK, bringing them all together. And these are all charities that work together to really put their supporters at the heart of their communications. And we apply insights, measurement, ideas, and some of those things I'm going to share with you today. So let's start with what I'd like to think is a really easy question. It's not a trick question, but it's really not as easy as it looks, is it? What's the easiest way to raise more money next year? The starting point is to keep more of your existing donors. That's got to be the starting point. If you do the maths, it can be up to 20 times more expensive to get a gift from a new supporter as it is to get a gift from an existing supporter, or to recruit a new supporter compared to keeping an existing supporter. We talk a lot about donor retention. We talk about how important it is, and we talk about donor loyalty and whatever that means to us. But often we do precious little, and our first response to raising more money is to throw more money at bringing in new people before we really sort out the experience of our existing supporters. So absolutely the core of what I'm going to talk about today is really the desire and the ability to focus on existing supporters, keeping them, make the experience brilliant for them, which of course is brilliant for existing supporters and keeping them, but it is also really essential before you bring in new supporters, because the better the experience is that's already lined up for your supporters when they come on board, the more happy they will be, the longer they'll support you, the better it will be for everybody. So let's start by talking about what we think loyalty is, and start with that question of what is loyalty. Loyalty to us is, and in the context here, is emotional loyalty. It's the connection that people have in the heart for the charities they support. Now, we often measure behavioural loyalty. We measure retention, we measure repeat giving, and we measure those interactions and value and behaviour that our donors have. But there's a different type of loyalty, that emotional loyalty, that sits before that. It's about how the donors feel about you. It's the definition we use, it's that feeling of support or allegiance to the cause or charity that a donor has. And it's that feeling that really drives how they respond to you, how they connect with you, and how they give. We've run research, and there's another session I've gone into that research in more detail, where we found that there are 3 drivers that really create and cause someone to feel that emotional loyalty to the charities they support. The first of them is commitment. It's that passion for the cause, it's that passion for what you're trying to achieve, and it's that feeling that what you're trying to achieve, the goals that you seek to achieve, are not just important, they're important to me. It's about really lighting a fire underneath the donor for what you do or what you're here to do and why you exist. The second driver of loyalty is satisfaction. It's that happiness with the way you communicate with people, particularly the way you communicate in a fundraising context. It's about making people feel valued. It's about making people feel that they can make a difference. It's about making people feel really good about supporting you. And then the third area, the final area, is trust. It's trust that it's their trust in you that you will do what you promise that you will do. Now, it's really difficult to measure um, loyalty as a concept. It's very difficult if I were to ask you how loyal you feel to a particular cause or a particular person, it's very difficult to sort of answer that in any sort of objective way. But if we understand what sits behind loyalty and in the context of loyalty towards a charity, we understand the concepts that actually that's driven by commitment, their passion for what you do, their satisfaction and happiness with the way you communicate with them, and their trust. Now, these are all things that we can measure. I can ask, and therefore we can measure just how passionate about the cause the donor is, how important they feel it is. We can ask how happy they are with the way you communicate with them, the tone of voice you use, the way you thank them, and we can ask whether they trust you to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. And because of that, then we can start to get really some quite quantitative, objective measures of loyalty. And that's really important as we start to think about showing just why loyalty is important. And again, just to remind you, what we're really talking about here is why emotional loyalty is important, that feeling of support or allegiance to your cause. We measure loyalty for all our clients. We've had nearly 200,000 donors now across the 24 charities that have completed surveys asking them about commitment, satisfaction, trust, and loyalty. Each one of those on the back of that is given a loyalty score based on how they've answered those questions. And what we've been able to do is track how those people, how some of those people then have then gone on to support the charities going forwards. So we're able to see the impact of their loyalty and the commitment, satisfaction, trust, their loyalty score on actual giving going forwards. What we've seen is that for every 1 point, everyone gets a score between 1 and 7. For every 1 point improvement in their loyalty score, we see over 5% increase in actual giving the following year. That's their actual support next year. That's 5% more donors retained next year than you would otherwise have. Or, put it another way, 5% fewer donors that you need to go and recruit. So if we start with 10,000 donors, or for every 10,000 donors you've got, that's 510 more people giving next year. If you don't have to recruit those 510 new donors, how much have you saved? I don't know what your cost per acquisition is. If you're talking about an average of maybe $50 per new donor, that's $25,000 you've just saved. Or maybe you pay more, maybe $100, in which case you've saved over $50,000, or $150 per new donor. That's $76,000 saved for you. And that's just for every 10,000 donors. If you've got a bigger file, then that's a significantly larger amount of money saved. Wouldn't we be better off spending some of that money on giving your existing supporters a really good experience so they don't lapse in the first place? Wouldn't you have better quality donors if you kept the ones you've got rather than always constantly chasing new ones who often will be the quickest ones to lapse in a new file? That's at the core of very much what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk about donor loyalty, growing donor loyalty, and let's think about what it means for your communications. How can we do it? How can we grow loyalty? Ultimately, it's all in the way you communicate with your supporters that happens. And at the core of that, I believe, is one really simple thought that needs to run through everything you do and every time you plan and put together a communication. And that's that every communication is an opportunity to grow commitment, satisfaction, and trust. Every communication is an opportunity to make someone feel passionate about what you do, happy with the way you communicate with them and their relationship with you, and to trust you to do it and do it well. Of course, there's another side to that, which is every communication is also an opportunity to destroy commitment, satisfaction, and trust. And that just shows how important every single communication is. And that's a mindset. That's about having that in your mindset. That's about having that at the fore. Every time you plan a communication, what you're going to do, every time you write a creative brief, every time you're reading the copy, every time you're answering the phone or picking up the phone, every time you're putting together an email, every time you're writing a web page, every single one of those is an opportunity to grow the loyalty, grow the donors' commitment, satisfaction, and trust. We need to look at, so how do we bring that to life for our supporters? Well, ultimately, we use phrases like supporter journey to recognise that we talk to people over a period of time. And the supporter journey starts obviously right at the beginning when someone makes their first donation to you. And that's a really important point in the relationship. There's a great phrase, isn't there, that you never get a second opportunity to make a first impression. And it's really important that you recognise that. And think about how the donor feels when they first give to you. Now, this will be different if you're a big, recognised organisation. That would be different from one that maybe they've come across for the first time. But they're putting their trust in you. They've not supported you before, so they're probably a little bit unsure about exactly what you'll do and how you'll spend their money. I'd like to think they're feeling really great. I'd like to think they're feeling really good that they've done something that they feel is a really good thing to have done. But they probably need some reassurance. They probably need to know that you've received it and that you've spent it as they're expecting you to do. And of course, they're interested. They've probably got a few questions going on. This might be the time that they're most interested in hearing from you and how you're spending their money. What do we do with those supporters in a welcome program? Well, we might send them a thank you and possibly even a welcome pack. And we probably tell them all the things that we want them to know. You've probably got a whole list of things. Right, got a new supporter. We must tell them about other ways they can support. We must tell them about other programs. They've just supported this program over here, but actually the really important ones are over there. We must tell them about all this stuff over here. We must tell them about this fantastic new research project that we've just produced a report on over there because we think it's really important. Of course, that's not what the donor's interested in. The donor's interested in the fact that you've just told them there's a really important piece of work. They've sent some money. They want to know if it's achieved something. It's called a journey for a reason, because you can take people on a journey. You can grow their understanding of what you do, and particularly you can grow that emotional connection, that emotional commitment, that satisfaction and trust that I've talked about so much already. So we need to really invest in this first stage of the relationship. We can't do everything just in one communication, which is why I like this example that's on screen at the moment so much. It's from Barnardo's, which is a children's charity in the UK. And they've taken a step back and thought about that whole journey when someone first comes on board. And they've created a very specific welcome journey for them. They've even branded it. They branded it called Take My Hand. And so that they use this take my hand and come on a journey, and over time I'll share with you about what you've done, what you've been able to achieve, and the work that we're doing and is that we're able to do together. It's brilliant. And then the copy comes across, and you can see the imagery and of take my hand, and that step by step we'll approach this. It really is that concept of a journey together. It's brilliant. It's a real opportunity to build trust with a supporter. You're telling them stories about how they've already helped make a difference, and that's right behind the concept of trust, that you will deliver what you promise you're going to deliver, and you'll achieve what you promise you're going to achieve. It's a fantastic opportunity to build satisfaction, to make the donor feel really valued. You're giving them more than perhaps they might have expected, which will make them feel good. But more than that, you're showing that you understand why they give, and you've created something specially for them, and you're making them feel really good about the decision they've made. Perhaps more than anything, it's an opportunity to really grow their commitment. It's a chance to build their passion, tell them stories, tell them more stories. If you've got a journey, you can take people take people through those stories. You don't have to just do it all in one go. You can build those stories and their passion for your work. So that welcome stage is a real opportunity to build trust, satisfaction, and commitment. And I really like the way Barnardo's are approaching that. Another point in the relationship that is so important, and it presents such a fantastic opportunity for growing commitment, satisfaction, and trust, is when you thank people, and every time you thank people. So why is this particularly important? Well, John Grain Associates in the UK have done some research that show that 70% of people who give recall the thank you better than they recall the actual appeal. Just think about that for a minute. They recall the thank you better than the appeal. Think about how much time you spend crafting and poring over every single word of an appeal when you make the ask. And then think about the effort that you put in and compare that when you're writing the thank you letter. It might not even be you that's writing a thank you letter. It might be someone in an admin team that's got a very different view on it. The thank you is such an opportunity to stand out, to really make the donor feel good. Again, they'll have made a donation, they'll be wondering where it's gone and what you've achieved with it. And it's an opportunity not just to reassure them and confirm that you've received it, it's an opportunity to make them feel absolutely fantastic about what they've achieved in doing that. Here's an example I love, by coincidence from another children's charity. This is from the NSPCC, the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children in the UK. And a little while ago, they created the most amazing scrapbook of very personal thank yous that they provided for their major donors, for their best supporters. And it was personal handwritten thank yous put together in a scrapbook and sent out to a handful of donors, the thank yous from the children that the NSPCC have helped. And that's great, and it was wonderful, a wonderful piece of work, very, very personal and superb for those donors. But they also wanted to do that for the rest of their file. And so they used the content from that to create what was called the Little Book of Thank Yous. And this was a little book of thank yous that went out instead of one of their newsletters. And it went out to all their supporters, and particularly their regular giving supporters. And it just was made up of these personal thank yous from the children to the donors, and about the difference that the NSPCC and therefore the donors had made in their lives. The NSPCC got 3,500 letters back from supporters saying, thank you for sending me the Little Book of Thank Yous. And of course, many of them, it wasn't the objective, but many of them also sent in further donations. When's the last time you got any significant number of people saying thank you for sending them a newsletter? Thanking is such an important stage in the relationship, and those are 3,500 people, and obviously more, because that's just the people that wrote back, who will just recall that and remember that next time they're looking at whether or not to support the NSPCC. I also want to draw your attention to, or draw you to this, which is on Sophie. Now, hopefully many of you have heard of Sophie. It's the showcase of fundraising, innovation and inspiration. If you haven't, it's the most amazing collection of ideas of just how brilliantly charities can communicate with their donors. And on this slide here is the link to this particular article. Go in and read this article, and then just go and get yourself lost and browse in Sophie, because it is a fantastic resource. But this is one particular one that I just think is brilliant. It's from Lisa Sargent, who's a copywriter and consultant in the States, and it's a workshop of how to improve thank you letters. And I just want to, she's got a series of before and afters. I've just chosen one here, just to give you an example. The before thank you starts, dear named supporter, thank you so much for your gift of amount in support of the Ontario Science Centre. Science and technology enriches our lives, and a single visit to the Science Centre can plant a seed and provide the tools for a lifetime of exploration and discovery. Thanks to your support, young people and their families from Toronto's at-risk communities will experience the inspiration and excitement that you and your family enjoy each time you visit. Now, let's be honest, there's nothing wrong with that. It's heartfelt, it says thank you, it says about where the money's going to go. But I want to read the after as well. So that one starts, again, dear personalised salutation. Robots whir, comets streak, tide pools gurgle. When science comes to life, anything is possible, and all because of you. Thank you for your contribution of amount in support of the Ontario Science Centre. Your gift is already inspiring a generation of future scientists and their families who, without you, might not have the means to visit our Science Centre. Isn't that brilliant? Just the picture that comes to life in your mind on there is just fantastic. I mean, in terms of building trust, the trust that's what my money is being spent on and achieving is really high in that. Commitment. It's just, I've got a picture now of exactly what's happening with my money, the vision, and it's not just that someone can come and visit. Actually, I'm inspiring future generations of scientists. Wow, that's big and exciting and going to grow my commitment. And of course, it is the most fantastic letter that is going to grow my satisfaction, because I feel important, I feel valued, I feel powerful, I feel great. And that's what growing good communications and growing satisfaction is all about. A good fundraising relationship and growing loyalty is not all about the money. It's not just about the money. It's about the way you communicate with people. It's about the newsletters you send to them. Now, often, many of you will send newsletters. Ask yourself honestly, do your newsletters really talk about what the donor is interested in, or do they say what you want them to say? Engagement's about letting people be involved in different ways. I love this from the Royal Marsden Cancer Charity, which is connected to the Royal Marsden Hospital in southwest London. And it was last year, and it was giving donors the opportunity to send a message of support to someone who's going through their personal treatment, their cancer treatment, their cancer care. And it's offering donors an opportunity to still help, still do something, still feel good about their ability, but not necessarily give money. It's about giving back to a supporter. It's about, I mean, goodness knows we all need some good news at the moment, don't we? I coach my son's football team, so I'm sort of logged into the Football Association website every now and again. They've offered this, it's sign up for 21 good news stories throughout 2021. And it's a fantastic idea where I can sign up, give them my contact details, and they will send me throughout the year 21 stories about how great football coaching can lead to real joy and improvements and benefits for the kids. It's a great way, I think, of really bringing to life what we do, and we can do that. We can tell good news stories and let people sign up to good news stories. All of these things are about growing commitment, because they're about sharing the goal and the real ambition of what we're about. They're great for building trust and showing the impact and the change that we can have with donors and with charity, with the donations that people make. And they're massively, again, about satisfaction and really about making people feel valued and good about themselves, making feel good about the difference they can make, and making people feel powerful and just making people just love the experience of being a supporter. Again, all of these things, if you do them right, are things that will stay in their minds, and so that next time they hear from you, that they'll already be feeling better about you before they open that communication or engage with that communication. Finally, and this is something that actually underpins everything we've talked about. So this isn't a specific stage in this supporter journey. This is everything, and it's the concept of stories, not statistics. I'm sure you know this. That we're wired as a race, as a human race to engage with stories. This is a piece of research that I just want to share that really brings this to life for me. And this was some research done where they had the participants came in. They were told they were taking part in a different piece of research that they did and was completed. And then the real purpose of it was towards the end, when they finished that, and they were all given a sum of money for taking part in the research. But they were also said, if you'd like to, you can donate that. You can keep that money, or you can donate it to charity, or you can keep some and donate some. And they were split into 3 groups. The first group was given what the researchers call a story with apologies for the phrase, horrible, but identifiable victim. It's what we would call a case study. a personal story of, in this case, one girl who is being helped by the charity. And that very personal story, on average, the people that had taken part in the research gave back $2.38 from what they'd been given. The next group were given the statistical victim. So this is how many children are affected. This is what's behind it. This is what the causes in our society are that's making this happen. This is the scale of the problem. And perhaps it's not surprising. We know that people connect with those really personal stories and the case studies. It's not surprising that actually that raised less than half the amount of money that the case study, the individual story of the girl, raised. What I find really interesting about this example, though, is the third group, who were given the story of the girl, the identifiable victim, and then statistics to back it up. So the story of the girl, and then this is why it's happening, and this is how many other people there are and other girls there are in this situation. And in that case, it raised $1.43 for every person there. Now that's 40% less than the case study on its own raised. Statistics just switch people off. They take people away from the real message of what you're talking about. It's the stories that really engage with people. It's the stories that people will remember years and years to come, rather than the statistics and the numbers and the dry facts behind it. Too often we forget this. I want to just to show a couple of campaigns that I think absolutely brought this to life so very well. One is from a charity called Sight Savers in the UK. Now this is a little while ago as well, but it's the most amazing. I'm going to read a bit of copy. It's incredibly well written. It's quite hard hitting, but I'm going to read this copy out to you. It doesn't take much to pick up trachoma, just unsanitary conditions and dirty hands rubbing eyes. As the infection develops, the eyelids start to itch and swell. Eventually, it leaves tiny scars. Left untreated, trachoma comes back again and again, scarring the eyelid a little more each time. Gradually, more scar tissue builds up until the eyelid becomes so disfigured it turns in on itself. And then the eyelashes begin to scrape the surface of the eye and a blinking hell begins. It's incredibly well written, but that's the reason why Sight Savers do their sight-saving operations and give the treatments for so many people in the developing world. Could have been told in so many different ways. They could have talked about how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people they help each year. They could have talked about the statistics, they could have talked about the numbers, they could have talked about the impact on people's lives. But no, they focused on one very specific story around how this can really affect and cause the pain and the blindness in the person. Very, very powerful, much more powerful than telling a story about hundreds of thousands of people and the bigger impact that they could have. The other one I want to share is from the Motor Neurone Disease Association. Now, motor neurone disease is sometimes called ALS in some countries. And this is John's story. And they used billboards they told John, who was diagnosed with motor neurone disease, they told his story. And the example I'm going to show is some billboards they used to do this. So it started with, to show you the meaning of motor neurone disease, I'm going to be photographed until I die. And it went through various different stages. I've taken my last step, which was when he became wheelchair bound. Most people with motor neurone disease die within 18 months. I've survived 4 years. I suppose I'm lucky. And that's him in a hospital bed. And it went all the way through until, very sadly, he died. It's a really personal story. There's no other way of bringing to life what motor neurone disease can do to destroy lives, as well as telling one individual story. These are both examples where the trust is built because you know straight away that the charity understands what's happening, what the issues that the people they're helping are facing and know what needs to be done to help them. The satisfaction is built because you can see your impact. You can see straight away why you're needed and what your role is in this. And really importantly, the commitment that's because it's so important. You read these stories, you can't help but feeling it's just so important that we solve this and we address this and we make this right next time. And that's something that can really grow passion and someone's feeling of importance for it. So that really brings together thoughts on growing commitment, satisfaction, trust. So just as a rare reminder, loyalty, remember, it's that passion, that feeling that people have. It's that feeling that this is such an important goal and I really want to help and I'm going to play my part in it. And the satisfaction that I feel great. Make your supporters feel great for supporting you. Show them the impact they've made and show them just how important they are and how much you value them. And trust, really bring to life the impact that you have for them. And one thought, just to come full circle, one thought then that brings that to life is that every single time you communicate with them, every time you, as I say, write a letter, write an email, send a text, answer the phone, put together website, is an opportunity to really grow that loyalty, grow their commitment, grow their satisfaction, grow their trust. So please, if you take one thing away from this, think about that every single time is that opportunity. Think about your communication, what it is you're putting together, and how that's going to make them feel, how that's going to grow their commitment, their satisfaction, trust. Think about how they're growing, what an opportunity it is to grow their loyalty, and also, yes, think about how good that will be for you because you'll retain more donors and raise more money. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it's been a bit thought-provoking. I hope it's given you some ideas and given you some inspiration to go away and change something for your donors. Unfortunately, I can't be with you for the question and answer session. I shall hopefully be fast asleep as you're watching this. But Rich and I are delighted, very happy to answer any questions you may have. We've got our contact details on this slide. Otherwise, I really hope you enjoy the rest of the conference and that you go back to your desks ready and raring to build up your donors' loyalty. Thank you so much again for choosing and watching this session.